How to play fingerpicking or fingerstyle guitar. Lesson 17. How to play Snowfall by Sad Fantasy. If you're working your way through the playlist or the fingerstyle guitar course, you will have heard this tune in the last video. However, if you just found this video, you won't know this tune because it was written especially for the course. But here's the tune anyway. If you already think you know it, you can skip past it. How to play Snowfall, the fingerpicking pattern. This tune is in 6/8 time, which means there's 6 beats per bar, and the beat style are quavers. And if you have been following the course, you'll recognise this fingerpicking pattern from Everybody Hurts and The House of the Rising Sun. However, this time the pattern is a lot quicker. So let's build up the speed first, and we'll start off with this fingerpicking pattern at 90 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction, and we'll do the fingerpicking pattern 8 times. How did you do? If you managed to keep up with that, we'll try it now at 100 beats per minute. However, if you struggled, I'll put some metronome counts at the end of this video at 90 beats per minute, 100 beats per minute and 110 beats per minute. Let's try the same thing, just the finger picking pattern with no chord at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. And again, if you manage to keep up, let's speed it up a little bit more, and this will be the last one now. So we'll try it at 110 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. If you manage to play the finger picking pattern at 110 beats per minute, then you're good to go. But if you're not there yet, what you need to do is exactly what we've just done in this lesson, and that's start at a slower speed, get that correct, then speed it up by 10 beats per minute, get that correct, and repeat this process until you get up to 110 beats per minute. But before we go any further, there's one more thing we need to try, and that's playing the finger picking pattern with the drums. And this is because counting with the drums isn't that obvious. So playing the finger picking patterns with the drum beat will take a little bit of practice. But before we try that, let's just hear how the count fits with the drum beats. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along with the drum beat so you can hear how it fits. See if you can keep counting after I've stopped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can hear, the drum beats are quite complicated, so it can be quite hard knowing where to put the beats or how to count them. Bearing this in mind, I'll play the finger picking pattern with the drum beats, the same way as before with no chord and a 2-bar introduction, but just listen to it the first time so you can hear where the notes are being played. Here that is again with a 2-bar introduction. You can either listen to it again or try and play along with it if you think you can. If you want to practice with the drum beats before you move on, as well as putting some metronome beats at the end of this video, I've put 2 minutes of the drum beats at 100 beats per minute and 2 minutes of the drum beats at 115 beats per minute, which is the actual speed of the tune. However, don't worry if you're not up to speed yet. We'll move on and take a look at the chords as well, because you'll need to learn those and get used to the chord changes. How to play Snowfall by Sad Fantasy. The chords. I think most people will be able to learn the finger picking pattern for this tune and get it up to speed. However, the difficult part is the chord changes. And this is always the case with fingerstyle tunes. You don't get much time for chord changes. So let's take a look at some of the chord changes, and hopefully I can give you some techniques to help you speed them up. But first, let's take a look at a chord I know you haven't covered in this particular course, and that is the D diminished 7th. And the reasons I've chosen this chord to take a look at is 1. It sounds wrong, so you need to be reassured that you're playing it correctly. And 2, there's a strange thing about this chord that I want to point out to you. So first, let's hear what it sounds like. And as you can see, it's really easy to play, but it does sound strange. Here it is again. So that's how the D diminished 7th sounds. And it does sound strange, but if yours sounds like that, you're playing it right. The second thing is that it's quite often called dim for diminished. However, sometimes they put a symbol, which is like a tiny 0, and this also means diminished. So if ever you see a chord with this tiny 0 symbol, that's a diminished chord. The last thing I need to point out is this strange thing in the theory of the diminished 7th chord. And I'm not going to go into detail in this particular video as it's a practical lesson, but I'll just explain this very quickly, and that is that every note in this chord could be considered a root. So this particular chord could be considered a D diminished 7th, a G sharp diminished 7th, a B diminished 7th, or an F diminished 7th. Obviously they're inversions, but this chord could have any of these names. Now, the reason I'm drawing your attention to this is in case you come across this chord shape somewhere else with a different name, or you come across another D diminished 7th chord with a different shape. This is what's going on. I'll go into far more detail on this in a separate video. Right, let's take a look at the chord changes in the first 2 lines. And by looking at these chord changes, we will have covered half of the tune. And this is because the first 2 lines repeat straight away, and then it appears twice on the second page. So that's 4 times the first 2 lines appear in this tune. Now, if you use the correct fingering, the first 2 lines should be very easy, because you're starting with a 1, 2, 3 on the F major 7, and for the E minor you just need to move the second finger across by 1 string and bring the first finger up alongside it. Though, if you want, you could actually use the second finger for both of those notes as they're in separate bars. Coming from the E minor to the D minor, you just need to move the second finger up a string and place the other 2 fingers down. Something you need to know with finger picking is, if at all possible, the first note you want to get down is the first note you need to play. However, with the D minor, this is an open string, so it gives you a little more time to do the change. But this becomes important when you go between the D minor and the C, in that the first note you want to have down is the 3rd fret on the A string, as this is the first note you'll play of the C major chord. Sometimes it's a good idea just to strum the chords a few times before attempting to fingerpick them. However, this isn't always the case. You might find it easiest to go straight in and practice the chord changes with the fingerpicking. Here's those first 2 lines slowed down to 90 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you can. And here that is again. Now, here that is again at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along if you think you can. And here that is again with a 2-bar introduction. Right, let's take a look at line 5, 6, 7 and 8. And this is the middle section that leads through to that diminished 7th chord we looked at earlier. Now, in the previous section, we played an E minor with the 1st and 2nd finger. However, in this section, I'd recommend playing it with the 2nd and 3rd finger. And this is because of the changes that go before the E minor and after the E minor. And those changes are from an A minor or a C and to an A minor or a C. And by fingering the E minor with the 2nd and 3rd finger, you keep the 1st finger free to go between the C or the A minor. Here's that middle section being played at 90 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. You'll also notice that I'm playing the G6 with the 2nd, 3rd and 4th finger, and this is so it's quicker to go back and forward between the G6 and the A minor because I'm keeping the 1st finger free. Here's that section again at 90 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Here's that middle section again, but this time at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you think you can. Here that is again at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Hopefully I've covered any chord changes you might have difficulty with. However, if you are finding it difficult to get to this speed, it's just a case of practice. And you need to practice with a metronome, so it forces you to do the chord changes as quickly as you possibly can. And you obviously start with a slower metronome and then build up speed. You'll notice we're ignoring the pauses. And this is because we can't play the pauses whilst we're playing with a metronome or a drum beat. We only play the pauses when we're playing the tune free time or without a drum beat or metronome. so for the sake of this tutorial, ignore those completely. However, if you want to play the tune free time later, you can introduce those then. Here's the whole piece being played at 90 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you can. Here that is again at 90 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. If you think you've got that at 90 beats per minute, let's try it at 100 beats per minute, again with the 2-bar introduction. And here that is again, one last time at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. If you need the notes and the tablature for this particular lesson, you'll find it at www.ebooks4guitar.com, and you'll find them in the Fingerstyle course, lesson 17. At the end of this video, you'll find the metronome beats at 90 and 100 beats per minute, and also the drum beats at 100 and 115 beats per minute. I'll upload the backing tracks on a separate video because I think they'll be easier for you to use that way. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, like, subscribe and hit the bell icon, and then you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Thanks to everyone who watched this video, and a special thanks to my subscribers because they help build the channel and they enable me to make new lessons.